All right, good morning, everybody. Actually, good afternoon, sorry. It is now afternoon. If there's anybody that's on, if you can just let me know. Can you guys hear me okay? I don't think anybody's on just yet, but I wanted to go ahead and welcome you. We just had the amazing news about the tariffs that was out on Friday. They said today was going to be the day, but basically the trade deal supposedly totally done, and so we'll get into that a bit more. Life has been crazy busy, awesome at the same time. Renovations, the two little kiddos that are sleeping right now, loving the market, loving the dark pool action. And if you guys want to know more about that, definitely check out down below the training pit. We are educating people not only about the dark pool, but also about learning to trade, the basics before you really get into that nitty-gritty. Not a lot of people will teach you guys what we teach in the training pit, so definitely check that out. If you like my content, please like and subscribe, and let's go ahead and get into it. If you guys have any questions at any time, just go ahead and put them up in the chat. And I'm totally shrinking the wrong screen. All right, that's the other screen. Let me shrink this one. That's the other one. Hold on 2 seconds for me, please. There we go. All right, so I've got this going. All right, so you can see we have the trade deal that basically was set up, completely set up on Friday as far as phase one, right? So there's more phases. So is the market going to react with positivity? We shall see. It was not a full deal. I can put the link to, this is right off of Reuters. So the phase one part of it for doubling the exports to China over the next 2 years from the US. So this is good news for farmers in the US, everything like that. Obviously we won't have all those soybeans, stored corn going bad, that sort of stuff. But it's just part of the deal, right? So it's phase one. How many phases are there really? This is kind of like the preliminary steps. Oh yeah, well, we're going to look at interest rates. We might not change the interest rates, but you know how they have the FOMC hike. So how are the futures going to react to this at 6 o'clock tonight? That is going to indicate what's going to happen to the market, because the futures obviously are telling us that, right? They're telling us what's going to happen in the future. So you guys can see my watch list over here on the right. And I want to tell you guys the pre-sales are available for the Modern Trader Summit. We do have the speakers right here. Slowly but surely I am releasing them. So I'll go ahead and put that there. Got myself, of course. And then we have Jeremy Alexander Newsom. He's awesome. He's one of the most positive guys out there that I know. Like, it's just, he's an amazing person, and he's a great trader and wants to give back to the community and help others as well. So definitely check it out. And if you guys are interested in purchasing your seat and reserving it, you just click right here, reserve your seat. They are $100 off now until February 1st. So definitely go ahead and lock in the savings, lock in your seat, because the seats are limited this year, and very excited. A lot of people didn't come last year. It was in Canada. So trying to make it closer, right in the hub city, easy for everybody to travel. Also, on Thursday, I should be on the Investors Expos speaking again. Very happy to be a guest there, as well as Trader TV Live. This is awesome. These guys are based in Toronto, and they bring on guests daily, and they also do live trading. So definitely check it out. They're watching stocks. They're doing live trading. Very cool people. And we'll go ahead and get into breaking down the levels for these stocks. I didn't do it as of yet because I wanted to go ahead and do it live. And if you guys ever have any questions on TradingView, I did do a TradingView video, so you can check that out as well. And I will just hide a couple of these things right here, and we will get rocking and rolling. All right, so we're going to look at the SPY, right? Let's go ahead and hide this over here, and let's make this our daily chart so we can go ahead and get into it. I'm just going to see if anybody's on the chat. Okay, all right, guys. Hello, welcome. If you have any questions, just go ahead and pop them in there. So you can see on the SPY, we have had amazing price action hit all-time highs, right? And we're breaking up above that. However, look, we had a really high volume. We broke above the former high right here, and it surged up above. We hit that 318 level. If we also just sort of draw a trend line right here, right? You can see we're setting up a new trend line. Let's see if it coordinates. Now let's adjust it back here. Let's take this. So if we go back to the prior highs back here, back in July, you guys can see that, all right. We are hitting those highs, right? So we hit July, there we go, July, and then in November, and now we're testing it again the third time. So is this really going to be selling power? Are there algos set up to sell at this trend line right here? We will see. We are having higher volume with some selling power at the top, right? We're a little bit far away from the averages, and we have to see because we could pull back down. We did bounce up off the averages on Friday. I don't use all of the indicators to get into a trade. It would more to be get out of a trade or not enter a trade. So here we've got the Bollinger Bands and we're at the top of it. If we check it out in the past, like, yes, we hit the Bollinger Bands here, we pulled back down, and then we ripped up again. So are we going to have that again? Was the market, was the dark pool ready for there to be some selling action for a bit of a correction before a super Christmas rally? We will see. Right now we closed slightly higher than on Thursday, but we did have some selling power. So let's see what happens with those futures. But just be prepared either side of the trade, right? We could rip on up. If we break this trend line, we could rip up to 320, even 321. I'd given 321.67 before to some of our trading friends in the Java pit, which would be crazy if that was the top. And we're also high on the RSI down here. And so just keeping a watch on everything. Let's look at NASDAQ as well. So same scenario, we had big movement, we hit above the Bollinger Bands right here, came back down, hit this moving average and bounced up. This was another trend line that I drew on the weekly. So once we broke through it, we had some massive movement to the upside, then we came down, broke below it, and then bounced right back up above it. So thinking that if we continue to the downside, I would look for that trend line to act as support. So maybe the 202.50 area for the SPY. Obviously, we're hitting, NASDAQ QQQs. If we are going higher, you know, looking maybe 212 area, and then we'll look at the Russell. So the Russell ended up closing down on Friday, and you can see every time that we go out away from those moving averages, we're going to come back to them. Right here as well, we did that. We had big selling power on Thursday, high volume at the bottom, and again on Friday, pretty big volume as well, and selling wicks. A bit of an indecision though, because we do have buying and selling at the same time. So quite interesting, and we closed below. So a bit of an inside candle right there if we ignore the wicks. All right, you guys have any questions so far? Can you hear me okay? I want to make sure. Okay. I've got the speaker on, so it looks good. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. So you guys can see this is my watch list. The float I do tend to take from shortsqueeze.com, and the short volumes I will take from volumebot.com or shortvolumes.com to see what's happening. All right, so we have Apple on the list, so let's go ahead and look at that. Go ahead and remove. This was on my watch list on Thursday. So let's go ahead and remove that. All right, let's get into it. Let's look at the 15-minute chart. Okay, so we ended up closing up at the high after hours. So go ahead and draw a trend line, not trend line, draw a resistance line right there, and actually closed up. It looks a little bit higher. All right, so let's go ahead and put this right here. That looked like it was a resistance point that's now going to be flipped to support. And let's check the high of this candle. High is 275.30. So I actually want it there instead of 275.25. So let's just go ahead and change it right here. All right. So there we go. So when we look back on the yearly chart, right, all-time highs, and we are out above the Bollinger Bands. Here was another time that happened and it pulled back down. So we might have some downward movement. Now, you want to remember, Apple is about 12% of NASDAQ QQQs and 3.5% of the SPY. So it has a bit of strength to it. Again, big volume the past 2 days. We look like we are hitting all-time highs. So we'll check it out. We'll see if we have a bit of a pullback. It's all going to depend on how the market reacts to the news. The news always seems like a justification for what is happening, but the actual reaction to the market many times is manipulated by the dark pool. So the more you guys learn about that, you will see, and it's really, really cool. So the news always comes after the fact, especially on CNBC. You know, those analysts, oh yeah, it could go up, or yeah, it could go down. They want a bearish on a bullish side. So let's check into BABA as well. So let's go ahead, and I have it on the bullish side in case the market potentially rips up. Obviously, BABA is related to China, Alibaba. So I would put the levels at 204.22 and 205.62 right there. Let's look at it on the yearly and adjust it down here. All right, so you can see, yes, we broke out, we hit new highs. That would put us almost right back down here at the 4 EMA before we might bounce off. So it hit the 4 on Thursday, again, sort of buying and selling. Same on Friday. The volume was higher. Well, let me move this over here so you guys can see that. The volume was higher on Thursday than on Friday, yet we went up above. So watching the volume is always very important. All right, let's go ahead and get into Q. Massive day on Friday. You can see, look at that volume right there. Now, something else to remember, Q is 18.04 million in the float, and it was only 7% short volume on Friday. That means 93% of the buyers, or 93% of the volume on Friday was going long. Only 7% was short. I forgot to give you guys the numbers too for Apple and BABA. So Apple has 4.4 billion, and it was 63% short float volume. And BABA is 2.6 billion, and that was 45% short volume. All right, so let's go ahead and get into Q here. Now, because it is lower float, it's going to need to have a bit more range to it because these can really get whippy. So it looks like we had support right here around the 13 range. It came down, it found support, consolidation here, and then it ripped up. Not a lot of volume here. However, we have this massive volume right here. So that's going to be very important to watch. I would really look at that big volume candle to see that high and low. And obviously, we know the volume was 93% long, so that's pretty good for going long and strong, right? So we'll keep it on watch and see, you know, potential targets. Obviously, the $14 mark, $14.50 and $15. That's going to be a round number that's really going to stick with people. Okay. All right. Just gonna move this over so I can see if you guys have any questions there. All right, let's put the numbers right here. If you guys ever are not able to watch the video, I do post these numbers on my Instagram as well. So let's check out, we've got Adobe right here. All right, let's put a support right there. And resistance, I'm gonna go ahead and put resistance right there at 320.22. So 316.91 and 320.22. Obviously, these higher price stocks need to have that range. You can also tell the candlesticks are going to tell you. So all-time high with a bit of selling power. We are outside of the Bollinger Bands. They did have earnings, so potentially that 3 days of green for the earnings before a sell-off. So keep watch. It might pull back down to the 310 area before it rips back up even higher. So just keep it on watch as well. And it does have 482 million in the float and 50% short volume. So completely even on Friday. Last one for our longs, XBIT, right? So XBIT, let's see, I drew some Fibonacci's off of the 45-minute chart because XBIT surged all the way up here. It came back, it sort of hovered around this 61%. So the potential, if it were to rip, you know, 2106, 2341, and 2660, 2631 for potential targets on it. And let's go ahead and let me put it on auto there. Let me get rid of the fibs so you guys can, it's not as busy to look at. And if I scroll like this, it'll make it easier for us to see. I've got targets along the way too, alerts for setting it up if it does rip on us. Let's go back to auto there. All right, so these are way outside. So let's put it right here at, let's put it right at the 20 mark. That whole dollar mark is going to be important. Now XBIT, low float as well, 17.9 million. You can see when it came down to this level right here, 1941, we had big volume coming in and big volume right at the open. So it's going to be important to see if we break above the open price, which it closed above, or is it going to break down below that 1941? So we've got 1941 right there for support and 20 for the whole dollar break going into Monday. Now this might have pre-market action, so keep it on watch. It was really, it surged up outside of earning, outside of the Bollinger Bands, came back down, came back to reality. We're inside now, so better potential move. However, we do have that gap to the downside. There are many traders out there that do also like to slam the low float stocks when they're this far out and they have a large gap. That gap could go all the way down to $15 if it were to break to the downside. So always be prepared either direction. Hi, Eben. How are you? All right, let's go to Broadcom, AVGO. Let me get rid of all the old lines right there. All right. So I'm going to put it at the top of this wick because it looks like they might have been testing to see if there was anybody that was going to break it up there. So for the breakdown, 314.10 and resistance of 315.83. First target that I would use to the downside would be down here at 310.80 area, right? But if we look at it on the daily chart, we've got this earnings that came out, and then we had a massive sell-off. It came back down, tested the averages, and it's still below the faster EMAs right here, 4 and 8. And it's curling down. We do have this consolidation area. You can see it acted as support and resistance in the past right here. So if it breaks down below there, I would look at the next level, potentially 306.50 for the next target if it breaks down below that 314 area. All right, next up we have Costco. So Costco has just been sort of descending right here. You can see we've got this area. Let me go ahead and make that a whole line instead of and a little bit thicker. All right, so you can see Costco has just been descending, bouncing off of this trend line. So is it going to pull back up to the trend line and sell off further? They did have earnings announcement and dropped off after earnings, dropped down low, and then came back coincidentally inside the Bollinger Bands. It's awesome how those work, but I do not use it just as a trading tool. Like I said, it's just awesome to see how things coincide with it. All right, so let's go to our 15-minute chart. So I would put that first breakdown level at 291.87. And guys, this is pretty much what I'm doing too for my daily watch list, the levels that I'm giving you. For anybody that doesn't have the time necessarily to do the prep work in the morning, I go ahead and I do it and generate same sort of thing, 10 stocks that are going to be volatile. So definitely check that out. You know, I've had people, they're like, this is amazing, Jane. Honestly, if you try it per month and you see that it pays for itself, it's totally worth it. So definitely check that out as well. Those are the old levels from the past. Obviously, it ripped up high from there. So keeping this one on watch below 291.87 and 293.26. That does have 439 million on the float. Next, we have Children's Place. As a mom of 2, I know Children's Place well. So Children's Place is a lower float at 14.9 million, so it might be hard to find shares to borrow. it's not always the busiest in the mall, you know, the consumer experience. So I would put a resistance right here. I want it at the top of this candle right here. All right, right there. So 54.75 for our resistance level. And I really like that support level right there, 54. I'm going to bring it down to that whole dollar mark. All right, so its lower float, it did have a dividend, so it dropped after the dividend too, but really $4.72 from a dividend might be weaker than one expects for it to drop. I'm not sure what that dividend was, but it had earnings and then dividends right after that, so it did drop down. Does look like it's also had a bit of consolidation right here, but this is a third day, so we'll look and see, is it able to break up and bounce up for here, or is it going to continue to the downside? We do have this gap fill later on in the future. Actually, I'll just put a little alert right here when it breaks above 60, because then I'll know, hey, this is a gap fill. Gap fill up to, and the other candlestick there, put a low, I can't see. I think it's about 66. We'll put 66. So it's got a nice $6 move potential to the upside. So then if it breaks that to the upside and I'm watching something else, I'm going to get that on my phone or an email or right on the screen. Gotta love those alerts. All right, Oracle. Let's go to our 15-minute chart. Let's get rid of all the other lines. All right, so Oracle had this massive spike up here, so 54.88. So I'm really going to put that as our resistance. That could have been a late print that they were selling up there, but if not, if that's where it might go to, you can see it seems like maybe even 54.80 right there was really a bit of resistance right here, excuse me, support over on the left, and then it flipped to be a bit of resistance. So keeping that one on watch. So Oracle, we've got the levels right there, 54.73, no, 54.42. 54.73 is a trend line, or is an average, yeah. 54.42 and 54.88. Yes, Evan, you can. Many of these are optionable. You also want to be aware of the spreads on these stocks, so that if it has a very wide spread, you want to be aware of that, because getting in and getting out, you might be losing money right off the bat, right? So if it has a smaller spread, then you're going to be a lot better. Excuse me, it's going to be easier to get a fill, not better. It's going to be easier to get a good fill on your exit. But if it's very hard to get a fill because it's a really wide spread, that could really hurt you and make you take a bigger loss than what you were considering taking. Okay, so we've got Netgear here. So Netgear, you can see, let's look at the 5-year chart. It was hitting 52-week lows, and it looks like this was a prior support. You see it right here? Back, the date on that is April 18th, 2016, where it bounced, actually April 11th, 2016. And then before that, February 16th, 2016. So it might come down to 2301. If we were to break down below that, we're looking at 22. So definitely keep it on watch. Now Netgear does have 28.9 million, so on that smaller float range. So potential to the downside here, and it looks like it has that momentum to the downside. It hasn't really, it's not too far away, but we might pull up before we bounce back down. So keep that one on watch. Now we'll get into some potential longs for longer term swings. So we have Afria on the weekly chart. Let me go ahead and get all of the drawing tools out of here. So I really like this one. This is on the weekly, right? But you can see it has broken a trend. Look, this trend line actually held all the way back to September of 2018, which is right up here. So if you come down here, we're looking at, this is September 9th of 2019. And then we came down, and this is the first week, last week, December 2nd, was a sort of consolidation week right on that trend line. And now we have a break above higher than normal volume. If we look at it on the daily chart here, you can see it's really starting to progress to the upside. It might have a bit more of a pullback before it heads on up. All of the cannabis sector seems like it has had a surge to it. ACB for Aurora Cannabis as well, having that same sort of move. Also, CGC, Canopy Growth. In fact, let me just pull it up over here. I have a whole list of pot stocks, right? So you can see CGC, Tilray. Let's see. Tilray might come back from the dead here. It does look like it's actually having that same sort of trend. However, it has not curled up yet on the averages. So we're going to go ahead and put a nice little alert right here on Tilray. If it does cross up 1968 right there, that's one that I'd like to see, because I like the candlesticks right here, right? So you can see that it's created, it was support back here, and then it came down and it was now resistance right here. So that the first break I would look for is 1947 and then 1967, and obviously the 20 mark as well. So we'll put another alert there, crossing up. So you can see, checking out the whole sector, if one of them is starting to have that move, watch and see what's going on with the other ones. Tilray is also a lower float, so that's why it can have those major moves. Oh, my pleasure, Evan. I hope I'm saying your name correctly too. Next potential long is AVGO right here. Now this, it says it's in the commercial services, but with the IO, I'm conservative, it might be a biotech. So check that one out. I don't know what the float is, but look at all this big volume going on down here. Obviously this is like a low sub $1 stock. So this would be for the real like penny stock traders. However, this chart that we're looking at, you can see the volume, the average volume is going up. It is showing oversold down here on the RSI. The momentum is starting to come up. The channel index indicator is starting to come up. The TTM squeeze is starting to show. So right now, the only thing real negative, I'd really want to see it break, I'd say right here, the 11 mark area. I'll just put a little alert there, crossing up. So keeping that one on watch potentially. Oh, excuse me, AAPL is not one of my list. I was looking at the wrong one, but that's a cannabis stock, same sector. Look at that, you see? All right, let's go this Sunday. It was not one of my potential longs. However, it's interesting, it has that same chart. So Cy Young International, this is a technology stock as well. You can see it came up, it tested resistance, broke above, sold off, and now this is the second test. We do have a bit of a gap move to the upside here, 1360, but we've got that nice movement, right? It looks like a cup, maybe a bit of a handle here. Let's draw it with the parallel channel, right? So we've got it here, maybe, right? So we've got maybe a bit of a handle right there. So maybe it's broken out here. We have higher than normal volume. And if we want to do the measurement from the top down, it looks like $3.64. Oh, you guys can't see that. But it's $3.64 to the bottom down there. So we'll go here. No, do that again. So we'll take it up here. So $3.60. We'll just be conservative. Potential target 1566 to the upside potentially there. You know, and if it were to break below that handle right here, you're looking at potential risk of 65 cents, right? All right, so let's go into the next potential long, BMA. So this is an Argentinian bank, and we have a bit of a W pattern here. Let me shrink my image so you guys can see it even better a little bit more. I'll just move myself over here. I'm not in anything. Okay, so we've got it right here. We've got a bit of a W, right? So is it going to continue on up here, right? We broke the mid-mark right here at 28.73, and now it just closed at 30.04. As far as I remember, the Bank of Argentina did peg their dollar to the US dollar. So this might be somewhat tied to the US dollar. So I would just watch that as well. It looks like we are starting to get a bit high on the RSI down here, a bit high on the Bollinger Band. So just keeping a watch on it. Might have a bit more of a pullback before it rips to the upside. Next potential long as well, RPD. All right, on the daily chart. This one's super interesting. Look at all of this volume right here, right? This could really rip, right? We've tested this resistance back here, and it ended up long and strong. It is on the high end of the Bollinger Band, so it might have a bit more of a pullback before it rips up even higher. Again, it looks more like, if we look on a weekly chart, you might be able to see that cup and handle a bit better, right? Yeah, look at that. So we've got this right here, right? And then it pulled back. Right here's the pullback. And it broke above, right? So we could be heading up here. And let's measure the bottom to right here. It's $11.25, right? So let's do it from here. Let's go up. $11.25. So we're looking at potentially 67.81 to the upside right there, potentially on RPD before we start to see a sell-off. And final potential longer term swing, HT. Let's pull it back to the daily here. All right, I like this one, that higher than normal volume. Look, we had volume increasing. We've got the volume increasing here all the way up. It sold off a little bit, but same scenario. We had this trend line here, right? We had this trend line. It broke above it, so watch. It might come back down, test the trend line, and then surge again. However, it did break above, so keeping it on watch to see, because that nice trend change might be big indication, but it might pull back all the way down here to 35 before it rips up again. All right, guys, as always, that is my watch list for this week. If you like my content, please like and subscribe and turn on the notifications. Also, come to the Modern Trader Summit. I would love to meet you in person there, and it's a great positive environment. This is the third year, some great traders, and we're adding a second day with live trading on Monday the 13th. So check it out. Have a great week ahead. Bye. Evan, I just see you posted penny stock trader here. How about start trading bigger listed stocks? So it's great to see. Oh, that's awesome. You know what, Evan? It's also really good because you can have somewhat of the same size position, but you've got larger range, so your risk is minimized, which is the name of staying in the game. All right, have a great one. Bye.